It it's the hardest thing that any parent could ever go through is to lose a child, and I with what I've done the last 15 years with the Will Smith Foundation, which is the children's nonprofit that I started when I lost my child, I've met people who have had children who are suffering, children that have to be in the hospital, and the way I lost Will was 8 when he died. The way I lost him was in a car crash, which was very sudden and very traumatic. I wasn't expecting it, and really to instead of saying why, to just say, you know, this is. I wish I could think of something clever to say. Like instead of saying why, say when. But when is the time for me to kick in and use my heart to do things for other people. And sometimes it takes a traumatic occurrence like losing your child to help people realize what's important in life, and that's giving back. The foundation is what healed my heart because it let Will go on. Some of my dear friends now, like my farm manager Debbie, never met Will, but she feels like she did now because of the things I've done for other children, and just I carry his little spirit forward.
You missed Manny Wah's win on opening day at Keeneland, right? Because you were at a fundraiser for the foundation. Is that
yes,
correct?
we had to be back in Texas for a fundraiser, and we knew Manny'd run well. Wayne's always really optimistic, and Manny always tries his hardest, but it was a lot of flying back and forth, and we thought we wanted to be here for the colt, because we raised the colt. And so we went down and took care of what we had. Shane was with me, so he didn't get to see this race either, but we got to watch it actually with my sister in Texas from our living room there, so that was pretty exciting for her to get to see it too.
So, what made you get back into horse racing? You said your dad was a horse owner. You have his silks. You galloped at Retama. What made you decide to get back into? Because when Will died, you gave up a lot of.
When Will died, I stopped riding completely, and I just devoted myself. I wanted to learn about the nonprofit world, and it is an industry. It's an entire industry, and to do it right, I wanted to vet the charities that we supported and just do as much as I could, and I didn't have time to do both. And I didn't know if I had it in my heart to get on a horse and to hold a horse on the track anymore. And kind of once you do that, it's hard to just get on a pony and ride around. So to come back into racing and be an owner is really exciting, because we didn't really we only owned horses then when we couldn't get them sold. We had a lot less expensive horses down in Texas, and if we didn't get them sold, then we'd race. I still actually have my trainer's license in Texas. I never gave that up, but I don't feel like getting up that early 6 days a week anymore.
So what got you back in though, and not just back in, but back in a big way?
Anyone that tries to leave the industry, don't we always come back? I think once horse racing is in your blood, and I was probably 4 or 5 years old when my dad got his first racehorse, and he was always an owner. And I've been around it my whole life. I learned how to, my sister will tell you, I learned how to read, reading a racing form, or, running out to the mailbox to get the sale catalogs. Once that's in your blood and in your heart, it's always going to pull you back.
So when you decided to get back in, did you just start off buying just, a couple of horses, or did you say, because you've got a lot of horses?
I do now. My husband keeps reminding me of that. It was Wayne Catalano that got me back in the game. I was I spent a lot of time in Hawaii back then, and I met a gentleman from California that I was dating, and the Breeders Cup happened to be at Santa Anita, and I said, hey, because I'd gone to Keeneland to meet up with Michelle Lovell, and I used to gallop together at Retama, and then another friend whose father owned Retama years ago. We were all meeting up here and hanging out maybe 6 months before that, and I still had Wayne Catalano in my phone. Wayne had been going to dinner with us and a few things while we were here that weekend, and just got to know each other. And so I told my friend, hey, let's see if Wayne can get us some tickets to the Breeders' Cup. So we split a box, and after I got to see racing on that level and realized that maybe I was in a situation that I could own a horse like that, I told Wayne, go find me a horse, I'm ready. And he came up with Solitary Ranger. And of course, that's how God pulls you back in the game. You get a really nice one the first time. And, Ranger, he was awesome. We were on the Derby Trail there for a little while. And that's what got me back in. And then the rest is history. The farm that I bought here, it'll be 5 years in May. that was a ranch that Dad had in South Texas that we ended up getting sold. It took a while to get it sold, but we got it sold, and I needed to do something with the money. You have to do a 1031 exchange, or I was basically, it was money from 1930 or 40 from my family. We've been ranching that long, so I put it in a farm in Kentucky, and my father was gone. I was hoping he's just still watching.
So you decided, okay, now I've got a farm, so I got to populate it with horses.
Yes, and my farm manager Debbie helped me with that quite a bit. A few of them we call our Chardonnay buys. We would be sitting at the bar here in Keelan and go, "That's a Warfront mare." But I'll tell you what, we always come out in the end. In racing, you're always going to have peaks and valleys. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And to me, that's what makes it fun and challenging is, and then figuring an exit strategy. That's what I love about, I still pin hook, because that's the kind of horses I need to look for. And I know where they belong. I know the ones that will work well in Texas and the ones that you can wait and go to Maryland. I love doing that. So I say now that my pin hooking has supported my racing habit. But Wayne's doing a pretty good job of supporting my racing habit. This will be our third Breeders' Cup entry, and they've all been with Wayne Catalano.
Well, let's just talk about that weekend, starting off with Manny Wah. And he's a horse I remember when he ran in the Ellis Park Juvenile.
Yes.
And finished, I want to say, third. And he's...
By that much.
He has a lot of seconds and a lot of thirds. And just how gratifying was that for him to punch through and win a race like that?
You know, Manny is a barn favorite. He has so much personality. And I think all those times he still thinks he won. And... I just, it's for him to finally be vindicated. And then Corey. I knew Corey when he was a bug. He got on some of my cheaper horses down in Louisiana. And then he moved his tack to Retama when Retama opened. So to see Corey be the one, that was a beautiful race. There were just screams all through my living room when that was going on. It was just a beautiful ride. I thought that Corey did. And Manny showed such heart punching through that hole. And I bet there were 4 or 5 other close calls like that. You know, Channing used to ride him. And Channing did an amazing job on him too, but so many times it was just that much. And like I said, the horse didn't know the difference. He thinks he wins all the time. And as long as he keeps getting his cookies, he's happy.
Yeah. And he ran in the juvenile, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, didn't he?
Actually, no, it was the sprint 2 years ago, and they fractured his shoulder there. If you go back and look at that race, there was a hole that he was trying to go, he got off the rail at the time. And there was a hole he was trying to go through, and they closed it, and you could just see it when you see the head on. And he ended up running 5th, and that Wayne still says, I say, that's when Wetmore won. I say we might have been 2nd. Wayne swears he might have won because that was the hole that Wetmore came through.
But he came back from a fractured shoulder.
And it took us about 3 races to figure it out. He went on down to the fairgrounds, and he threw us a couple of seconds, and then we just noticed something was wrong. And Wayne went over him with a fine-tooth comb, and they found it was, my farm manager can tell you the details, but it was essentially it was one of the bigger bones in his shoulder, so it took a little while to show up. So he was off for about 6 months, maybe longer.
That's got to make it all even better. You coming back from something like that. Then
well, and we got to have him at the farm, which I loved that.
And 2 days later, you had Andthewinneris.
Yes.
And that was the race you said you really won, so you had high expectations for him, I'm guessing, going into that race. Well, you said because you'd also raised him, too. Now,
Exactly.
And so you're the breeder. You own the mare.
Yes. He actually was a September yearling, and our consigners advised us to put a little higher reserve on him than we wanted to. He actually, I think our last live bid was $62,000, and so we weren't intending to race him. You know, we try to sell all of our babies first, like I did when I was younger in Texas. You know, we try to sell them first, and then if that doesn't work, then we'll race them. And so we're racing him.
So what was that like winning the
Oh, that was incredible. And actually had one of my friends with me from Texas had come up too. So it's fun to bring somebody new into the game. You know, it's exciting for us. We know that. But for someone to be there that actually has a connection to the horse but really has no connection to the industry, it's so fun to see their faces and hear their screams. he was a reserve. I think I did an interview after that. And I said, you know, he was an RNA. We were trying to sell him, and I ended up back with him and gave him to Wayne to train. And you know, if you don't buy us, you got to beat us.
So now you're in the Breeders' Cup with these 2 horses. How do you feel about how they're doing in your chances?
You always hope you have a good chance. especially for Manny. Manny's just had so much hard luck. They're both running against some really nice horses, but Breeders' Cup is crazy sometimes. Everyone's got a chance out there, and I listen to Wayne. He's the one that sees the horses every day. He says they're training great. So I feel like we've got as good a shot as anyone else, and we're sure going to bring it.
Put in perspective what winning a Breeders' Cup race would mean to you.
I think I'll cry. I can't even imagine, because it is my father's silks that my horses wear. We had our own silks when I trained in Texas, and the first time that Ranger got beat, we had Wayne silks the first time, and he won by like 11, the Arlington Washington Futurity, as a maiden. And we came back here, and we were the 6-5 chalk, and I proudly had my silks, which were green and black and had the Safari logo on them because we were Safari bloodstock. And it rained about 7 inches. That's when the track was still poly, and I think we ran 5th or 6th. And I went, okay, Dad, I got it. My dad was gone by then, so I thought, pulling my dad's silks out. So now that's our brand. Dad was a cattle rancher, the running M-Bar. My maiden name was Moulton, and to see my dad's silks win the Breeders' Cup I have to feel like they're all up there watching.
You've been through more heartache than most people can ever imagine. How is Susan Moulton today? Are you in a good place?
I've always been in a good place. To me, if you get lemons handed to you, make lemonade. That's what my father lived to be 90. I just turned 60 this year. I hope I beat Dad. I hope I at least make it to 91. I'm not going anywhere because I know someday I'll see them all again. And so I'm just enjoying the ride along the way for all of them. I know they're watching.
And you're very involved in the Will Smith Foundation that you started.
Yes.
And you were telling me you've got a Cody's Tribe little bracelet,
I do.
right?
I was so excited to meet them. Shane pays better attention to this. He watches racing all the time. I don't always have time to do that. And I was sitting with him in Texas last weekend, and they did a piece on this organization and that little boy. And I want to meet him so bad. I got to meet the owner yesterday at the draw, but I love stories like that. And my boys love the races, especially my little one. He loved horses and the races, so I think it's good for the game. When you bring some heart here.
I met Susan in May of 2018. I feel like I've known her all my life.
And then you became her farm manager, like right after meeting her, because
she hired me that evening. Yes, and interestingly, during our meeting, I got a phone call. My youngest son had just gotten out of rehab, and I had to excuse myself. And she was very understanding, and she shared at that point her tragedies with me. And October of 2018, I lost my son. So having her there. She had been through all that. She was just incredible and really got me through a rough time and still continues to help me with that. So
for both of you to be here with these two horses in the Breeders' Cup, put it in perspective from...
It's, chance of a lifetime. I'm just still in awe. I mean, we rehabbed Manny Wah on the farm before he came back and just... knew he was going to come back and do great things, and then Andthewinneris, we foaled right there out of our second crop, and I always thought he was pretty special as well. It just was a beautiful, big, correct colt, and didn't have an idea of how special he was going to be, but we are just over the moon. Susan has a huge heart, and the work that she does for kids, and it is just incredible, and the way that she has turned her tragedies around to help so many kids around the world. I mean, she does things all over the world, Africa, Hawaii, here. It's just, I would have to say it's her heart.
Yeah. What do you think your reaction would be if you win a race?
If we win one of the Breeders' Cup races?
Yeah.
I hope I don't pass out. But it's going to be, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do.
You hope to find out, though.
Yes, I hope to find out for sure.